What is up, everyone? Brandon First, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are First. Welcome into another edition of the Changeup here on the network. We break down everything that Major League Baseball has to offer. It is the first day of September, so that means we are getting ready to head in to the final month of the season as we finish up this marathon that is Major League Baseball. I do have my co-host, as always, Bryanna Winner. You can find Bryanna at bwinner12. Bryanna, how you doing today?
I'm glad I'm going to get the weekend off because I need the break, especially after football on Friday.
Yep, it's football season, and Bryanna is going to be covering all that in the Nebraska area, the Scottsbluff, Nebraska area. She's got a high school football and, of course, the Huskers. She's keeping an eye on as well. But for baseball,
But speaking on the Huskers, I was covering a softball doubleheader, and the parent, after I got my pictures and everything, as I'm coming up with questions, the parents and I were literally keeping track of that Husker game. And first half was fine, and then I get back to my apartment. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, that is definitely. I was even watching that game at work, thinking, oh. How are the constituents of Nebraska and Bryanna's readers dealing with Illinois, taking them out to the woodshed, if you will? Yes, not playing basketball. We're not playing basketball. Illinois taking down Nebraska in football. But anyways, here on the network, or here on the Changeup, breaking down the final season as we get ready, or excuse me, the final month of the season as we get ready to head into October. Of course, last year only 60 games, so September was, of course, September like normal, but it wasn't that full kind of run in after a full season like it is this year. Plenty of stuff to get to. We, of course, have our 3 up, 3 down. Later on, we'll have our team reports. Of course, myself with the Padres, Bryanna with the Angels when we step into the winner's circle. Give you a little update on the standings, but we will start in the Big Apple. It's been a little while since we had kind of one of these stories that led off the show, and it's of course what's going on with the New York Mets, a team that just 6 weeks ago was top of the NL East by 3 or 4 games, looking like a team. Hey, this is a team that can maybe make some noise in October if DeGrom gets healthy. They have a really good starting rotation. Their bullpen has made strides, and then they go out and bring in Javi Baez, and you figure, wow, okay, the Mets are ready to roll. But it's been really downhill ever since, and it really crescendoed this past weekend when Javi Baez, Francisco Lindor, and Kevin Pillar break out the booing the fans celebration. As the announcer from Dodgeball would say, that's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out. And it didn't play out very well. They are on a little bit of a winning streak, so who knows? Maybe it did. But the big thing is, when asked about it, Javi Baez brought up the fact that, hey, they're going to boo us when we're struggling, and that's their right. I'm going to boo them when I think the fans are struggling. I guess I understand what he's saying. I don't know if it falls on the right ears in New York, but Bryanna, what are your thoughts on, I don't even really know how to describe it, a really odd situation of, I guess, player versus fan situation. What are your thoughts?
I mean, the fans are going to hate them for it, but they have the right to do it. Like that's just my thought on it. The fans have the right to boo, then so do the players. Like they're also just out there working their butts off for you, and you boo them. So they get a right to boo you, even if they're like on a winning streak or a losing streak. It doesn't matter. If you're being disrespectful to them, they will do it.
Yeah, and I completely agree. Look, a couple years back, the Padres had Ian Kinsler, and he was on the very end of his career. I'm pretty sure it was the last stop he had in his major league career, and he was struggling, and he was hearing it from the fans. And he hit a grand slam one night, and of course the crowd's going crazy, and he looks at the crowd and he says, I mean, bleep all of you. And that was an F that started the bleep, and everyone was upset. Oh my gosh, how can he just, I'm over here like, you know what, we deserve that. The next night he went out, he went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, and they booed him again. He didn't say that then, but you know what? The fact of the matter is, if you go out, and you're right, if you boo your hometown players, if you're frustrated with your hometown players, that is your right to boo them and yell at them. Chris Paddock, I mean, That's kind of my prime example. I boo that guy left and right. If he were to come up to me after he goes 7 strong, now that would be, minor miracle if he went 7 strong innings. But if he did that and he, walked straight up to me and said, "You're an idiot and I hate when you boo me," I said, "Yep, you got me today, but I probably will get you the next day." And really, that's what it is. And the odd part about this, when all this is going on, obviously Javi Baez, Francisco Lindor, Kevin Pillar have apologized and said they're going to get better and they're not going to do this anymore, blah blah blah. Javi Baez scores the game-winning run yesterday, and of course what happens, everyone in New York is going crazy, nobody's booing. So look, fan is short for fanatic. There is no way that most fans are rational thinkers when it comes to their fans, when it comes to their players, when it comes to their team and their players, I should say. It's an unfortunate situation, but I respect Javi Baez. I respect these players for pretty much kind of sticking a middle finger up and saying, you know what, you boo me when I'm down, don't cheer me when I'm up. Now that's never going to happen, but still, I do respect what these players did, and I agree with you. If the fans have the right to boo the players have the right to boo the fans. Now, is this going to get Javi Baez an extension in New York? No. That I have to imagine that is now out the table. I know there are off the table. I know there were a lot of people talking that Javi could sign up with Francisco for the foreseeable future, and that could be a hell of a middle infield. Doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. But we'll see how that goes. Like I said, the Mets on a bit of a winning streak, still have some work to do. A perfect little segue into the second part of our show, or at least the second segment, I should say. And we're just going to look over the playoff update in both leagues. We'll start in the American League. The contenders here, look, the Tampa Bay Rays, we'll get to them in a little bit when the 3 up, 3 down. They have essentially ran away with the AL East. They have a 8-game lead over the Yankees and Red Sox. The Blue Jays are also in that, but 14.5 games back for the Blue Jays, 10 games back for the Red Sox, 8 games back for the Yankees. We're not even going to bring the Baltimore Orioles into it. The AL Central, another division that's essentially already wrapped up. The White Sox have a 10-game lead on the Cleveland Indians, 15-game lead on the Detroit Tigers, 17 on Kansas City. And Minnesota cannot get out of last place. They are still 18.5 games out. And in the American League West, I don't want to say it's wrapped up, but it definitely doesn't look too good for anyone not named the Astros, to the chagrin of most baseball fans. But the Astros do have a 5-game lead on the A's, 7.5-game lead on the Mariners, 12.5-game lead on the Angels, and 31 games on those lowly Rangers. Bryanna, in the American League, at least for the division lead, Oakland's got to be the only, I guess, hope for anyone to run some of these down, but I feel like the American League division races are done and dusted. Do you agree?
Well, I'm going to look at their schedule very quickly.
There you go.
But it's looking with the Astros. Obviously, they play at the Angels multiple times. They get for 3 days. Mariners, Rangers, Diamondbacks, A's, Tampa Bay. Then they finish their regular season with the with the A's. So, they don't have an easy schedule.
No.
Meanwhile, with the A's, they've got the Tigers, the Blue Jays, the White Sox, the Rangers, Kansas City, Mariners, Astros, Angels, and Astros. So, they essentially could catch up in these next few series, but that also just depends on if anybody can beat the Astros.
Yeah. That's a great point, though. The schedule's coming down the stretch when you can sprinkle in some Kansas Cities, some Detroits, some Texases onto that kind of run in. That's a great point. I think.
But the Astros also have the Rangers and the Diamondbacks as well.
Yeah. So they're going to definitely need some help, but I definitely think Oakland at least has a shot. Now, looking at the wild card in the American League, the Yankees do have a 2-game lead on Boston, who, if the season did end today, that would be a very interesting 1-game wild card at New York. It would be the Yankees and the Red Sox. Right behind the Red Sox, though, is Oakland, just a game out of playoff positioning. Seattle is still there, 3.5 games out of the playoffs. Toronto 4.5, and we're not going to get into the rest But Toronto, Seattle, Oakland, all kind of trying to run down Boston. I think it kind of what you just brought up. Oakland's schedule, they might be looking at the wild card as their way in. Obviously, only one game to make up there from kind of a struggling Red Sox team. But I'll tell you this right now. I am pulling for the Seattle Mariners. I think it would be a great story for baseball. I don't think it's likely. I don't even think it's very possible. But if the Mariners could somehow, some way get hot this month and go into that the postseason as kind of the fifth team and make the playoffs after everything they had to go through this offseason, that would be very interesting. But
if you look at the Red Sox schedule, they've got their series against the Rays, which is finishing up. Indians, Rays again, White Sox, Mariners, Orioles, Mets, Yankees, Orioles again, and then they finish up with the Nationals. So it's going to be probably an off and on rest of the year for Boston. So there is a chance that somebody could overtake them.
Yeah, I agree. I think Boston is by far the most vulnerable team in the American League when it comes to their playoff positioning. But we'll move to the National League. The division races here, at least two of the three are a lot closer than the American League. We will start in the in the National League East. This has been a division that seems almost everyone, I feel like, has been in first place at some point, unless you're the Marlins or Nationals. But the Braves do have a 2.5 game lead on the streaking Phillies, who are, as I said, 2.5 games back. The Mets have won 3 in a row. They are still 5.5 games back. Washington and Miami both out of it. Washington 15 games, Miami 16 games. In the Central, pretty much done and dusted. You have the Milwaukee Brewers, who are going to make me some money because that was my futures pick for them to win the Central. I'll pat myself on the back after the show, though. They have a 10-game lead on the Cincinnati Reds, 12.5 game lead on the St. Louis Cardinals. Cubbies are 23 games back. And
we're not talking about that.
The Pittsburgh Pirates, 32.5 games back. But the Central owned by the Milwaukee Brewers. What's up?
And the unfortunate thing is I'm seeing both of those bottom teams this weekend.
Oh, what a great matchup Bryanna gets to see at the friendly confines. The Chicago Cubs and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Quadruple A baseball. No, I'm just kidding.
That's pretty much what it is.
I know. It's quadruple A baseball, let's be honest. But hey, it's at Wrigley. You're going to have a blast. I know that. The National League West, by far the most intriguing division in all of baseball. The San Francisco Giants only have a half-game lead on that team. The other team from LA, the blue team. I'm not even going to say their name because I have to say it.
We're going to have to later.
Yeah, we're going to have to. So I'll save the name calling for later. But the Padres are 13.5 games back of San Francisco, Colorado 24 games back, and Arizona. I believe they've officially been eliminated from playoff contention. They are 41 games back, a long way to go in their situation. But the wild card picture is very, very tight as well. The Dodgers or Giants, whoever comes in second in that division, will host that wild card game unless something crazy happens. Currently, the Dodgers have a 13-game lead on the second wild card team, and that second wild card team is a tie between both the Padres and Reds. St. Louis and Philadelphia are both 2.5 games back, and the Mets are 5.5 games back. Those are really the only contenders. Bryanna, big question here, obviously. 3 questions. Who wins the National League East? Who wins the National League West, and who gets the second wild card?
I don't even want to talk about the West. I'm sorry, but I really don't want to talk about the West.
So I think we all know the answer to that one then.
Yeah. With the East, I mean, it just depends on everybody's schedules coming up. I know that I think we were talking about who the Braves are facing a little earlier.
I know the Padres and Braves late in September play 3.5 games. And the reason I say 3.5 is there will be a suspended game that I believe the Padres are up either 4-2 or 4-3 on. That game, I believe, is a 7-inning game. But that will happen late in September. I think the 26th, 27th-ish. But yeah.
The Braves face the Dodgers tonight. And then up until like the end of the month, they're basically home free. Like basically until September 17th, they should win, because it's the Rockies, the Nationals, the Marlins, and then the Rockies again before they face the Giants. And then the Diamondbacks. And then it's you. And then it's you. So I'm thinking it's going to be the Braves.
Yeah, that might be the easiest schedule of anyone still contending for the playoffs.
But after the Diamondbacks, it's you, then the Phillies, and then the Mets to finish out the season.
So it's going to be a tough end. They got to kind of.
It's going to be a tough end, but they need to. If they win out up until at least the 17th, they should be fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Braves do win the East. But now, Bryanna, Reds or Padres? Who's it gonna be?
I don't know. Again, schedule wise, who do you have the rest of the year?
Yeah, don't look. It's really bad. Like I said, 23 of the next 28 games for the Padres are against teams that are currently in playoff position.
I mean, if you look at the Reds, they're doing a doubleheader against the Cardinals right now, but then they've got the Tigers, the Cardinals again, the Pirates, the Dodgers, the Pirates, the Nationals, the White Sox, the Cubs, obviously, which is unfortunately Labor Day, and I don't get to go to that game. And then they finish their season with the Pirates.
That's a lot different. Yeah,
it's probably going to be the Reds. I'm sorry, it's probably going to be the Reds.
It's all good. It's unfortunate. I brought it up, and we'll get more into it on the Padre thing, but the last month and a half, that's when the Padres needed to make up ground, and they did just the opposite. So they have nobody to blame but themselves if they were to miss it, but we will hold that off for a bit. But it is now time to step into the winner's circle. Bryanna is going to give us everything that's going on with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Bryanna, what you got for us today?
Yeah, I don't think we're leaving fourth. At this rate, I don't think we're leaving fourth. I think the Mariners are going to continue doing what they're doing. The Angels are 4-6 in their last 10. They are considering shutting Trout down for the rest of the year since he has not made a return yet. And I don't want him to be out at the beginning of the season anyway. Because come on, we need a full-on season where it's Ohtani and Trout playing the entire year. Because two best players in baseball. Nobody can argue that Trout is currently not the best, or not Trout. Ohtani is currently the best player in baseball. Nobody can argue that. He's overtaken Trout at this point. But that's because Ohtani's able to do something that Trout can't. Pitch.
And pitch well.
Pitch well.
I'm sure Trout could pitch, honestly, but I don't know if he could pitch well.
He'd be like a Rizzo.
Yeah, exactly.
So since the last podcast, they've lost 2 to the Orioles, which snapped their 19-game losing streak. Unfortunately, I wish that could have kept going. They went 1-1 against the Padres. They've won 2 versus the Yankees, and then they will finish that series later today. Keep in mind, today is Wednesday. So against the Orioles, Ohtani did pitch in their 10-6 loss, but he did not get the loss. He only pitched 5 innings, gave up 5 hits, 4 runs, and had 7 strikeouts. And after that, he was the only run in the 13-1 loss on Thursday, and that was because of a home run. So against the Padres, I'm not talking about Friday. I'm not going to talk about Friday. Friday, I'll leave that to you. But Saturday, the Angels did beat the Padres 10-2. Look, Walsh homered, Upton got his 1,000th RBI, and Ohtani stole second base. So he became the first player in Angels history to have 40 home runs and 20 stolen bases in a season. And I'm just going to add to that in a minute. So just hold on. So against the Yankees, Ohtani had his 42nd home run in the 8-7 win, and that was in the 5th inning. But Jack Mayfield, the former Astro, hit a grand slam in the 4th inning, and the Yankees were really unable to catch up from at that point. So yesterday they won 6-4, handed the Yankees their 4th straight loss, which I'm happy for. Walsh hit a 3-run home run in the 4th inning. Ohtani stole home in the 5th, making him the 4th player in American League history with at least 42 home runs and 22 stolen bases in a season. And those names that he's joining: Jose Canseco, Alex Rodriguez, and Ken Griffey Jr. So they have a day off tomorrow, Thursday, before they face the Texas Rangers Friday through Monday, and then the San Diego Padres again Tuesday and Wednesday. And that's a perfect segue to you, but I figure you have some things to say about Otani.
Yeah, I feel like a beaten or not beaten record, but an old record. I forget the saying, but it's I just don't know if baseball fans really are appreciating what we're seeing. We're seeing a guy who is probably the best power hitter in baseball and a top 10 pitcher. That's video game stuff. That's read about it in the histories of baseball of what Babe Ruth did or some Papa Joe whatever in the 1880s. I mean, that's what we are seeing in 2021. Shohei Ohtani, now, first and foremost, on Saturday, thank goodness he didn't, it looked rough. You take you get hit by a pitch in the hand.
Yeah, thanks a lot. His scheduled start was scratched because
and I'll tell you this right now. He actually, I don't know if ironically is the right word, but he struck out on that pitch. So, or at least it was, I don't know if it was that pitch that he struck out, but it was definitely called a strike because he technically swung, which a little bit of that insult to injury. But first and foremost, obviously, thank goodness he's okay. It's unfortunate he missed the start, but it's not debilitating. He is going to return. And, I highly doubt Ryan Weathers went into that game going, okay, I'm going to be that guy. Believe me, Ryan Weathers does not have that type of control. Trust me. And he showed it later on in the game that, he's struggling out there. So, but first and foremost, thank goodness that Shohei is at least healthy. Unfortunately, he did miss his start. But for Shohei Ohtani, this is a guy every single week. We could probably have a whole show about the records he's broken and the records he is chasing. At the All-Star break, you could have ended the season. His season could have ended. He's the MVP. I mean, there is a possibility that Vladimir Guerrero possibly wins the Triple Crown and does not get a single first place vote in the MVP voting. I mean, that's not almost incomprehensible, and you can't even make an excuse for it. Like, there's no way you can sit here and say that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the MVP of the American League, which is sad because he's having an amazing year. He's having a fantastic year, but no one will hear it. And that's why I'm really sitting here saying, if you play in the American League, you're going to need kind of a not Shohei Ohtani American or MVP award, because this guy can hit 25 home runs a year and have an ERA of 4. And guess what? He is your MVP, folks. He, like you said, he can do something that nobody else can do. And that's pitch very well as well. So Shohei is that guy that you just have to enjoy while he's here. He is going to, I have a feeling when it's all said and done for Shohei, there are going to be a lot of people that went, damn, I don't know if we'll ever see anything like that. And I truly, truly believe that the way that Japan handles youngsters in baseball, I think they are the best chance to kind of produce another Shohei Ohtani. I really do, because they, 12 hours a day for some of these kids. It might sound like a lot to us here, and it is a lot. Don't get me wrong. But you want to be on the top level, that's what you have to do. You have to make a lot of sacrifices, and that culture of baseball definitely does that. So
do we want to go over his stats for the year so far?
Please. I mean, it's incredible.
He's hitting 262. Obviously, I've already mentioned home runs. He is in first. Guerrero, I believe, is at least 5 back. Mm-hmm. He has 90 RBIs. His OPS is 987, which is 4th in the league. Pitching wise, 19 games, 8 wins, 1 loss. His ERA is 3. His WHIP is 106. Innings pitched 105, which is double what he pitched in 2018. 127 strikeouts, 39 walks, 72 hits, 37 runs, and 35 of those were earned.
Does it have opponent's batting average right there for the pitching side of things?
Yes.
Probably like 210 probably, or something like that.
On base average, it looks like a 193.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So he's hitting 260, pretty much doubling what he's allowing his opponents to do on the mound. It's like I said, we could literally have an entire hour-long show about me and you just gushing about how amazing Shohei Ohtani is. And we might one of these days. I mean, the offseason's coming up.
And he's only given up 11 home runs.
Yeah. I mean, and the
through
biggest,
basically the entire season.
The biggest thing I could say for Shohei Ohtani, and the thing that I've noticed makes him a better pitcher this year, is the walks. The walks are down a lot. I mean,
significantly.
The biggest things that he struggled with early on was the fact that he really did. He was wild. He was a really good pitcher, but he wasn't the effective wild that you need to be. Now he's figured that out. I mean, like, I really truly believe that as long as Shohei Ohtani wants, he will win the American League MVP. He's going to go on a run of 5 straight years of winning American League MVP. And we're going to be talking about negative 500 in the future odds, because everyone's just going to bet this guy. And they're going to make money off of it. And Shohei, now the next step for the Angels in the next 6 months.
Keep Trout healthy.
One more, and more, even I would say not more than that, but just as equally important, pitching. Don't go out and bring Javi Baez, sign him to a 10-year deal, or there should not be a single multi-million-dollar contract that goes to a position player for the Angels this year. All the money needs to go to pitching, and pitching not named Jose Quintana. That's what the Angels need to do, period. Or we're going to be talking about this next year. How amazing Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout are, but they're not going to make the playoffs. That's just the unfortunate factor of it. However, 20 pitchers taken in this draft, at least now they kind of understand, hey, this is what we got to do. Bring as many in as possible, and we'll see which one sticks,
Reed Detmers, though.
Yeah.
He's doing pretty well, and he's only been in a few games. Obviously, those first 2 were all nerves, and there was nothing you could do about that.
Yeah.
But since then, he's done well.
He has.
So I'm hoping they don't get rid of him.
Yeah. Well, no, I can't imagine. He just came up, and that would be a disaster. And I'm sure the Angel fans would mini revolt there.
Riot.
But yeah, riot. Exactly. They'll burn down Disneyland and turn Space Mountain into their own little fortress. But with that, it is time.
No, they can go into Avengers Campus. They can go into Avengers Campus and try to get all the
that's
stuff.
Fair. It's been a while since I've been to Disneyland.
That just opened
Gotcha.
within the last few months.
Gotcha. Yeah, Space Mountain's my reference point. I think that's one of the first things. Maybe it's the Matterhorn I'm thinking of, but one of the first things you can see when you're driving up to see Disneyland. Yeah, just the
Matterhorn.
Yeah, I think it is the Matterhorn. But anyways, enough Disney talk. They got enough money. They don't need any extra plugs. So moving on to the San Diego Padres. Let's be honest, the last 3 weeks when I do this, it's been negative. And it's been frustrating, and it's been borderline parental advisory content. And now it's getting better, but it's because of who they're playing and the way they're playing. But there are definitely still some negatives for the Padres. Obviously, this past weekend, Bryanna kind of did touch on it. Friday night, the Padres got some absolutely fantastic pitching from Joe Musgrove. So coming into this year, the Padres had not had a single starter throw a complete game shutout against an American League team ever. Now Joe Musgrove has done it twice. Obviously, earlier this year, he had the no-hitter against Texas, and he also did it against the Anaheim Angels this past Friday. Fantastic for the hometown kid. He is by far their most consistent pitcher this year. And it's kind of ironic. He was kind of the afterthought when they brought in Snell and Darvish. It was kind of like, oh, we got Musgrove too. That's kind of cool, but look at Darvish, look at Snell. And he's actually been the one that's stepped up the most. Now, speaking of Blake Snell, we are recording, I should say, Wednesday, September 1st. So last night, Tuesday, the 31st of August, Blake Snell takes a no-hitter through the 7th inning. The bottom of the 8th rolls around, and here comes Pierce Johnson. Now, Blake Snell was, I believe, at 108 pitches. He had thrown triple digits his last 3 or 4 starts, but he continually showed that he was pitching well. I know for a fact he could have kept going out there. I'm pretty sure any other manager in Major League Baseball has Blake Snell go out there, but not Jace Tingler. who is afraid of his own shadow. Thank God this is Jace Tingler isn't Patuxi Paul, the groundhog that, we figure out if there's more winter. Because if he were to do that and see his shadow, we might lose him because he'd run away. Jace Tingler needs to go. The only positive of the Padres missing the playoffs this year is the chance that Jace Tingler gets fired. And last night was a huge kind of momentum shift. I would say Padre fans were about 50-50 on the state of Jace Tingler. If you thought Jace Tingler should stick around, you put the blame on AJ Preller. If you thought that AJ Preller should stick around, you put the blame on Jace Tingler. Well, last night, all the blame, for the most part, from a lot of the people I talked to, they're putting it now on Jace Tingler after pulling Blake Snell with only in the 7th inning of a no-hitter. Obviously, Pierce Johnson ends up giving a hit. Didn't really matter. The Padres still won the game, still got the shutout. They've now won 2 in a row against the Diamondbacks, but let's be honest, that's what you had to do. This is what you have to do. I mentioned it earlier. The Padres schedule from here on out, outside of the fact that the Padres have plenty of off days, that's their only positive. They have like 5 off days this month, which I think is the most of any team. So you do have that. But they're going to start a road trip here coming up here very soon, where you're going to go to LA, St. Louis, and San Francisco. The next 28 games, 23 of them are against teams right now or in playoff position. And as I said, the other 5 games are against the Angels and the Cardinals, 2 very good teams in their own right. The Padres have to figure this out. They cannot be under 500 or they will miss the playoffs. And they finish up with Arizona today. They get one of those off days I talked about, tomorrow being Thursday, the 2nd of August, or September, excuse me. And then they have a home weekend series against the Houston Astros. Obviously, all baseball fans, they're going to be pulling pretty hard for the Padres this weekend. But after that, we got 2 more off days. And in between those 2 off days, of course, it will be that series with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And after they're done in Anaheim, or I guess with Anaheim, I should say, they are going to then embark on a road trip, 3 with LA, 4 with San Francisco, 3 with St. Louis. And even the back end of this month is going to be 3 at home against San Francisco, 3.5 against Atlanta at home, finishing up with 3 against the Dodgers and 3 against the Giants. The Padres have absolutely no respite, except for the fact that they have days off. Looking ahead, it's bleak. I'll be honest, I asked all those questions to Bryanna, and I didn't answer them, but I'll tell you what, I agree. I think the Cincinnati Reds or the St. Louis Cardinals or the New York Mets are going to make the playoffs over the Padres, and a big part of it is their schedule, and an even bigger part of it is their manager. Their manager right now, you might have to put newspaper down in his office, because I feel like he's wetting himself right now. Looking at this schedule, knowing that he has to face, some of the best managers and the best teams in baseball, Padres are going to be at a disadvantage every single time this year, especially, when you look at the Angels and Joe Madden, the Dodgers with Dave Roberts, even the Cardinals with Mike Schilt. Those managers are actually major league managers. We have a buddy of our GM who can also speak Spanish. That's what Jace Tingler is. He's not a major league manager. He is essentially a caretaker who was picked by his buddy. But with that, it is time to move into our 3 up, 3 down. And I had the ups this week, and the first up is pretty easy. And it's been a team that's been very dominant really all season. One of the best teams in baseball, the best team in the American League, a team that's won 9 in a row and run away with the American League East. It is the Tampa Bay Rays. As I said, 9-1 in their last 10, 9-0 in their last 9, if you really want to get into it. But they currently have an 8-game lead over the Yankees, 84-48. This is a team that's playing 636 baseball. Very, very talented team. Obviously, last year was maybe a pitching change away from maybe winning a World Series, or at the very least forcing a Game 7. But Bryanna, what are your thoughts? The Tampa Bay Rays on a tear of late.
I mean, look, they deserved that World Series last year. Kevin Cash, what'd you do? Like, I'm sorry, but that was the worst decision you could have made. But yeah, I mean, I believe that they're going to win this division, and rightfully so. Honestly, I don't want the Yankees to catch up. Red Sox had their chance to hold on and they couldn't do it. And now their schedule going the rest of the year is going to suck. I don't think Boston's going to catch up. And the Yankees are probably going to struggle. They've lost 4 straight and they're playing the Angels again today. So it's really just going to depend on schedules.
And a side note on the Yankees, they joined the 1982 Braves as the first team to follow up a 11+ game winning streak with a 4+ game losing streak. So all the Yankee haters can rejoice for a couple days. But yeah, I agree. The Rays are going to stroll into the playoffs and probably be the best team. Right now, they have a 6-game lead on the Houston Astros and a 7.5 game lead on the Chicago White Sox for the best record in the American League. They actually are tied with the San Francisco Giants for the best record in all of baseball. But moving to the down, Bryanna, our first down. Bryanna, what you got for us?
Our first down is going to be the Seattle Mariners, mostly because they had the chance to overtake the A's and didn't get it done. Look, they did beat the Astros last night, and hallelujah. But they do have to face the Astros again. Then they can possibly get back to where they were for the Diamondbacks before they get the Astros again, right on Labor Day. And then Diamondbacks, Red Sox, they've got the Angels, Kansas City, A's. Look, like the Mariners really need to get it done basically against Kansas City and the Diamondbacks. That's pretty much what they're going to have to do. And then they're going to need to beat the A's as much as they can. And they will be the next down. So just hang tight.
Yeah. Little foreshadowing there. I agree. It's going to be tough for Seattle to do something or at least make the playoffs. Just because of the situation.
They can make people's life hell.
Yeah, they could. They could be that spoiler. They could be that. Look, I think when they play the Astros, all of baseball fandom is going to kind of put on their Mariners hat, if you will. But I no matter what happens, I mean, unless there's just a total collapse down the stretch, I do believe Scott Service needs to get some votes for Manager of the Year. This was a franchise that, we talked about it probably ad nauseum in the offseason about the drama that Rotary Club meeting brought on. And they weren't a terribly talented team before that, or at least on paper. They have definitely shown that a lot of us got it wrong with them. But moving to our second up is going to be the Philadelphia Phillies. Most of the other teams in the NL East, not named the Braves, have kind of faded away. The Phillies have not, at least not yet. They are 6-4 in their last 10, but they have won 5 in a row. They are only 2.5 games behind the Braves, but the Phillies starting to play good baseball, but they have to keep this going into the last month of the year if they want to win the East, because it's going to be very tough to run down that wild card with that kind of big log jam there with the Padres, Reds, Cardinals, Mets. But Bryanna, what are your thoughts on the Philadelphia Phillies' little run?
I don't think they're going to catch up. I don't think they're going to overtake them, especially looking at the Braves schedule. But I mean, congrats to them. They're probably going to finish in second unless something drastic happens, like DeGrom.
Yeah, that's a pretty drastic thing as well. And that's definitely a possibility for the Mets. I agree with you, though. Philly, they had their chance earlier. They went on a hell of a streak and then I believe lost like 3. I think they got swept by the Diamondbacks. And don't get me wrong, look, Padres got no hit by the Diamondbacks. So there's no judgment from me here, but I'm just putting at the facts that this is a team that got swept in a 3-game series with the Arizona Diamondbacks. So that kind of tells you where that franchise was just 2 weeks ago. But getting it together, but do they have enough time? That's the real question. And I think we're both in agreement that no, they do not, unless something very drastic happens at the top of that division. But you kind of already let us know our second down, but give us the reason why.
So look, the A's are 4-6 in their last 10. They are digging a much deeper hole than they did before. They are now 5 games back of the Astros. But I believe within the last few weeks, they were like within 2 games. They have doubled that. So they rightfully deserve this spot on this list.
Yeah, the A's have a lot of question marks. Obviously, their biggest, maybe one of their biggest question marks is the state of their franchise going forward. Where they're going to play. At this point, that's not really an issue. I don't think that's affecting things. But this is a team that had the feeling, or at least had the goal, of winning this division. And as you brought up just a couple weeks ago, that was a very attainable goal. Now, I don't think it's possible. I think now you shift your attention to trying to dethrone the Red Sox or the Yankees and try and make your way in through the wild card that way. The A's, fantastic manager, Bob Melvin, maybe one of the best in the game. So they do have that going for them, but the offensive side of the ball for the A's has always been an issue. I mean, I want to say even going back before or right after they got rid of Jason Giambi back in the day, this is a team that's always been very pitcher heavy, and the ballpark plays to that. I understand that. But at the end of the day, it's very difficult to compete with teams like Houston and even the Yankees and the Red Sox when you have an offensive side that's, look, Matt Olson and Matt Chapman, good players, but they're having down years. Starling Marte got brought in. He's had a good little return to form, but they need more. They need more in the American League, where your offense really has to carry a lot of the load. That hasn't been the case. They have time, but it's dwindling very, very fast. So our final up. Yeah. All right.
You gotta say it.
I gotta
say it.
Our final up's Los Angeles Dodgers. They're in second place. They're only a half game back. That's all I got.
I don't blame you. I have nothing to add to them anyway.
Yeah, we did our job. Okay. We put them on the ups. All right.
We put them on the ups last week.
Yeah, we did. And now it's getting a little ridiculous, but
Dodger fans enjoy this because it's not going to happen often.
Yeah.
We will find every excuse to not put them on this list.
Agreed. And with that, we're moving on. Bryanna, what's our final down of the week?
The final down of the week is going to be the Giants. Look, they had a massive lead on the Dodgers that has now only gone down to half a game. They're thankfully 6-4 in their last 10, but they're also on a 3-game losing streak. And they still have to face the Brewers one more time, which was 2 of their 3 losses. So I'm hoping, I really hope the Dodgers can hold on, or not the Dodgers, the Giants can hold on, excuse me. The Giants can hold on, but I think the Dodgers are going to overtake them, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree with you. God damn, the damn Dodgers, man. They
creep up on you.
They really do. I mean, the Giants are the best team in baseball. They are tied with the Tampa Bay Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays have an 8-game lead. The San Francisco Giants have a half-game lead. So while, it is kind of like, God, Giants, what are you doing? Well, they're the best team in baseball, and they still only have a half-game lead. The Dodgers, though, I don't want to say we're expecting this, but it's I think a lot of us knew eventually if the Dodgers stayed healthy, even with the Bauer BS, but if they stayed healthy, and then especially with the acquisition of Scherzer and Turner, I think most people figured, okay, eventually the Dodgers are going to overtake the Giants. Now, bringing it back to the Padres, because I'm selfish, this is a situation where, if the Padres had played a little better over the last month, they'd be in striking distance to maybe be able to run down the Giants, because what now from the Giants? What happens tonight? Do they end up getting swept by the Brewers, or do they fight back, get one back? But then what happens from here on out? Because, I'll make plenty of excuses for the Padres, but the Padres are still a good team. And they're a team that if you're fighting for playoff spots, you don't exactly want to play. You'd much rather play the Rockies and the Diamondbacks. Giants and Padres are going to meet up a lot this month. So if the Padres, had done a little better, maybe they'd be 8 games behind the Giants right now, not 13.5. You could sit here and say, hey, they go 5-2, 6-2 against the Giants. Boom. Next thing you know, maybe that wild card game's at Petco. Now, obviously, a lot of coulda, woulda, shoulda. That's what happens when you get swept by the Rockies. You get no hit by the Diamondbacks. That's kind of what happens. But for the Giants, they need to kind of just hold on, right the ship, and kind of focus on possibly that 1-game playoff, and then more than likely moving into that best of 5. Now, I will say this, Major League Baseball does have a problem when it comes to the playoffs. The way it currently is set up, the 2 best teams in the National League will not, it is impossible for these 2 teams to meet in the National League Championship Series. Because the way it's going to go is you're going to have the NL West winner, and then the second place NL team be that top wild card, assuming that's what it's a pretty safe assumption. But those are probably going to be the 2 best teams in the National League. Well, it's going to be the 1 seed with the winner of the division. And then of course the 4 seed, assuming that team wins the wild card game. So if that team wins the wild card game, let's just say the Giants are the wild card team. Well, immediately they go into the division series. The 2 best teams in the National League will not play each other in the National League Championship Series. Instead, they'll play a 5-game series. I think that's wrong. I think they need to reevaluate how they do the seeding and things like that. I don't really know what the answer is, but like I said, I just feel like that's wrong because the Dodgers and Giants, I think, as much as I hate to say it, I would love to see a 7-game series, not a 5-game series, but we'll see how that goes. Hopefully next week, we don't have to talk about that team, the other blue team from LA. We don't have to put them up on the ups. I'd love to put them on the downs. That would be like, a Christmas miracle in September.
And you've got the downs next week.
I do. And I'm waiting. I'm just over here. They might go 7-3 and I say, you know what? They lost the game. I'm going to put them on the down just to even things up. But I don't know if I'll be that petty. But Bryanna, what are your final thoughts for another episode of the Changeup?
Well, first, you might be.
Yeah.
Petty enough to do.
I am very petty.
Only when it comes to those 3 specific teams.
I wish.
With the Yankees and the Astros.
And there are definitely other teams and things.
I'm talking about specifically those 3 right
gotcha.
now.
Okay, fair enough.
Do you think it's going to be a rematch of last year's World Series?
No. And you want to know, you're going to absolutely hate me.
Astros.
It's going to be a rematch of the 2017 World Series.
That hurt.
I'm sorry.
That hurt.
I know. Believe me, I'm not a fan of that either. But as a betting man, and as somebody who at the beginning of the year, actually, once again, I'm going to keep patting myself in the back, but I put money on the Astros to win the American League. I'm not saying I'm rooting for it, but it's kind of one of those things. Well, if they do it, at least I made a little bit of money off of it. Now, for the Dodgers side of things, I just don't know how any team can beat the Dodgers in a 5 or 7-game series. If the Dodgers somehow do not win the National League West and they have to play in that 1-game playoff, look, anything can happen in 1 game in baseball. Watch out. That could be their biggest kind of kryptonite, if you will. But if they end up winning the division, I don't think there is a single team in baseball that can win 3 or 4 games in a series against this team. It breaks my heart, and I hope I'm wrong. I will play this clip.
I hope you're wrong.
I do too. I think everyone does. Unless you're a Dodger fan, you hope I'm wrong, and I'm going to be at the top of that list. But I hate to say it, but as a betting man, that would be my pick as we get ready for September. But what are your thoughts? Do you think we see a rematch?
I don't want to see either of those.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'd rather see the Giants.
Yeah, me too. And I think that's the biggest thing, is trying to somehow see how the Giants can find their way in, but it's that rising versus lowering of water right now. The Dodgers are that phoenix from the ashes, if you will, and the Giants are, that animal that's looking for water. It's a little famished, trying to find some water in the middle of a drought, unfortunately. But it's going to be a hell of a month. I will say that. And for better or worse, the Padres are going to have a very big say over who wins the National League West. It won't be the Padres, but you had
a say of who had the wild card last year, and you ruined it.
Yeah, you're right. I firmly believe, I still am on record, I firmly believe the Padres should have lost the final game of the season to allow the San Francisco Giants to be the 8th seed. And at the very least, I think they would have at least won 1 game against the Dodgers, rather than the Brewers, who just got swept away.
They didn't care. They didn't want to play the Dodgers.
No, they didn't want it. They had to go all the way out to LA, and they're just like, man, we finished 8th this year. Shouldn't we be playing golf by now? But anyways, It's really, really tough to see the Dodgers at the top. Really, really tough to see the Padres kind of lagging behind. But baseball is baseball, and who knows? If the Rays can get another shot at them, I tell you what, Game 6 rolls around, and starter number X or starter name X is in the 7th inning, and Kevin Cash walks out to that dugout, there better be a sniper, because you cannot let him do that same thing all over again. And I'm being a little dramatic there, but once again. No, not at all. No, we got to beat the Dodgers. It's pretty much this podcast is taking the field. Hopefully somebody okay, let me ask you this, Bryanna. Now, this is going to really make you uncomfortable, and you're going to hate to have to answer it. But if we do get a Dodger Astro series, who are you rooting for? Who is Bryanna Winner rooting for?
Neither. I won't watch neither.
No, that's a lie. That's a lie. I know that's a lie.
I haven't had time to watch anything. So again, I am not watching those games.
Okay, so it would be out of work situation, not sitting at home watching.
No, I still wouldn't watch it.
Instead of wow, okay.
I still wouldn't watch it.
Bold words. Well, I'll tell you what, if that is the case, then I guess I'll have to do that podcast all by myself that week.
You might.
I will have no idea what's going on.
Oh no, I will. But at the same time, I'm not going to want to. It's not like it's not going to come up on my phone.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you'll know what
there's
happened.
no way for me to avoid it.
Yeah, it's going to be right there. Just maybe not see how we.
But neither.
There. Yeah. I'll go out on record saying I would cheer for the Houston Astros. I'm sorry, but I absolutely hate my hate.
You want the cheers?
Yes. Any day, 11 times out of 10, I root against the Dodgers, period. But anyways, to be honest, it could be the North Korean baseball team, and I might cheer for North Korea. Let's be honest here. Okay. But with that, thank you all so much for listening to a really fun episode here of the Changeup. We break down everything that Major League Baseball has to offer here, presented by the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. It is time for you all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We'll talk to you all very soon. Take care.